keeping an eye on me. Okay. Hey, you guys, welcome to Art 244. This is James just checking in. I'm trying to conceive of and build gating systems for pieces. And I'm going to start by demonstrating with my own piece. So I'm just trying to get something going here that is going to be kind of an auxiliary piece, an auxiliary. The main ways that we introduce bronze into the piece is through a gate. And then secondary things are called sprues. And so this would become a sprue that I would use to introduce some bronze into the piece like this. So I'm going to kind of mark it with my thumbnail right here so I can cut it off at the length I want to cut it off. Which side did I mark it on? Because I can't see, because I'm just about blind. Oh my God, everybody's coming today. It's like somebody rang the dinner bell or something and everybody's showing up for dinner. This is fantastic. So I'm just going to go ahead and with a hot knife, I'm going to attach this little sprue and it's going to come up here where the cup is going to attach to the piece. And I thought I might do a couple of these, like one to each of the thighs or kneecap down here, mostly just because I wanted to try to get more than just a ½ inch diameter pipe worth of molten bronze going down into this piece. I think that this ½ inch pipe is going to be really good for feeding the bronze going into the head and the bronze that's going to fill up the arms. That I don't have any problem with that. But for the whole piece, this is pouring a lot of hot metal through a really thin bottleneck. So I wanted to open it up with like the equivalent of another ½ inch or so. So I'm going to drop one of these here and put another one here. And so let's get on with it, James, and not just talk about it. So we're going to do that. And we're going to bring this in here about like this. And so this isn't super necessary to make the piece cast, but I want the piece to cast fast, because if it's kind of slow in filling, other kinds of nasty things can happen. I really like the metal to flow in as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So I'm going to invent another gate for this, or a little sprue for this area right here. And so I'm going to put it here, and I'm probably going to bend it right there and kind of bring that in just about like that. And this will even allow me to continue to sculpt on this piece, because I still have some access to some pieces and parts of this thing, even with all of this gating system in the way. So I'm going to use the hot knife, get 8 seconds in the flame just to get myself a good hot knife. I'm going to come in here once again and do the little weld right there, and maybe just touch it in here so that it welds together. That's beautiful. Now I'm going to take this thing and kind of trim this so that everything is about the same length. So I'm going to trim these 2 3/8 pieces so that everything is the same length as the ½ inch piece. And then we're going to weld this last piece on here. And I'm seeing a little bit of looseness around the edges of my meniscus of wax that's on this cup. So I'm just going to use a warm knife and just kind of try to, I don't know, make that wax stick just a little better around the edges, because I've had some things fall apart in the middle of working with them. And see, these are some of the details that, I'd love for you guys to be able to catch when you're doing this. But if you've never, if this is your first rodeo, then you don't know about looking for things like a loose piece of wax on the bottom of your pouring cup. I'm going to change knives now. And now I'm going to use this tuck pointing trowel, which is from masonry, but it is a really wonderful, piece of steel, piece of tool steel that I can heat up in the flame. And then it has a really nice ability to transfer heat over a really wide area. And so when I need to weld something together like that, the tuck pointing trowel is kind of like my go-to mega mondo kind of wax tool for welding large pieces of wax together. I do most of my wax welding with a butter knife, but the tuck pointing trowel comes in handy when you have to do a gating system like this. So now I'm just kind of inspecting this to see whether I got, all of my, turn this off, wait for the flame to die, see if I got all of my joints really nicely welded so that it's strong and it's not going to come apart. And I'm going to kind of just look around at the joint to make sure that it is just welded in a really, really strong manner, so that you can pick it up and you can shake it by the gating system, and you can shake it by the cup and it's not falling off and all of that kind of stuff. Because this is going to be manipulated. We're going to take our sculpture, our wax sculpture, and it gets to get dipped 9 times in the ceramic shell slurry. So I'm going to build up very thin layers of ceramic shell slurry through a 9 coat dipping process. And every coat of slurry has to air dry and harden up. And so that kind of is like plywood. When you get done with it, you've got these 9 laminated coats of ceramic shell that create a really, really super strong yet fairly lightweight investment casting material around your pattern, your wax sculpture. And then everything gets burned out in a kiln after that. So the styrofoam cup will get burned out in the kiln, and all of these wax pipes, or these wax linear forms here, will become hollow wax tubes, and they're going to become the pipeline system. They're going to become the plumbing system through which the bronze flows to then fill up the negative space that will be this sculpture shape, because the sculpture also will get completely melted out in the dewaxing process in a kiln. So I'm going to have an empty mold that will be completely dewaxed, and that's the thing that I'm going to pour the 2000 degree bronze into. So you kind of have to use your imagination at this point to understand that the reason we call this the lost wax process is because all of this wax and this little bit of styrofoam burns out completely in the kiln. And so we will have nothing inside the mold except all of this creating its negative space that we will pour the bronze into. The bronze will replace the wax and the styrofoam. And then once that has cooled down, and after about 20 minutes, it cools down from 2000 degrees down to about 500 degrees. And that's when we can break it out. And so we pull the molds out and use a hammer and break off the ceramic shell mold, because it's a single use mold. It's a one-time use mold only. And once you break off all the mold material, you have this shape, it cast in bronze. And then we start to grind off all of these attachment points, and we recycle the bronze that was the pouring cup and the gating system. And then we're left with the cast bronze sculpture that we will be grinding and polishing and finishing up for the rest of the quarter. So this is our little project that we're working on right now, is to try to take your finished sculpture and bring it on in here so that I can design a gating system for it, and then with a hot knife assemble that gating system and get it ready for the casting process. This is the start of week 6, and so we've got 4 more weeks left in the quarter, plus finals week gives us 5 working weeks to work with. So I'd really like to start you guys finishing up your sculptures this week and bringing them in so that I can get them gated up. There's one more thing that I forgot to do, and that is to actually type up this first project. This wax sculpture is actually your first project, and it's worth 100 points. So I need to create an assignment for it in coursework so that you guys can take a selfie with your sculpture and upload that as the wax part of this process, so that you get 100 points for doing the wax sculpture, and you're going to get another 100 points for finishing up the bronze piece. So it's a 200-point quarter. Half of it is sculpting the wax piece. The other half is grinding and polishing the bronze piece. And, that might be one sculpture. If it's a medium to fairly large size sculpture, that might be 2 or 3 or 4 medium to small pieces that you might be working on. So I just want to let you know that the deadline is coming fast. It's like this week. We really need to try to get these pieces finished Wednesday or by next Monday at the latest, so that I can push these through the ceramic shell process and we can get on to casting them in bronze. And
I have a
so
question.
I have answers. Yes, Aurora, what's up?
Has anyone's sculptures, like wax sculptures, ever just like fallen apart during the gating process?
Yeah, occasionally. And so I put them back together again. I use
Okay, thank God.
all my tools and I put them back together, and then I chase whatever the joint was so back to the way it was. And yeah, I've put things back together that have fallen apart before. That's one of the reasons why I kind of have to do this, because
Okay.
I'm looking for structural failures as well as being able to put this together so that it won't fall apart either. Good
That's
question.
really put me at ease, because I have an arm that no matter how many times I put it back on, just keeps wanting to pop off. And I've tried a bunch of different things to try to like make the joint stronger, but it keeps breaking off like right at that same spot. So I was very nervous.
Well, I will fix that. And I'll look at it. And depending on how big the piece is, I might even have to cut the arms off and cast them separately and then weld them on in bronze. It just kind of depends on the size of the piece and how much it reaches out into space and all of that. Don't be surprised if your sculpture actually gets cast and it comes out as an armless piece with a couple of other arms in another casting. I have a TIG welder and I will stitch these things back together again. And then when we grind and polish the welds, it erases any trace of what we did, and nobody will ever know that it was cut apart and put back together again. So I got you back. I can help you guys out here. Let's see, any other questions from the or comments, really? I was just wondering how you guys are doing. I was wrong last week. I need to back up a little bit, circling back around to last week. I got my shot on Sunday, and then I was feeling really horrible Monday night, so I canceled class. And I thought that for some reason that Coos County was still in the extreme risk category. We've actually been downgraded to moderate risk. And I don't know, we're going to get re-evaluated, every week or every 2 weeks. And so that evaluation comes out on a Wednesday. And so, it is like conceivably possible that we could meet together as a class on Wednesday night. But, we all have to be masked up, and, we have to, get out of the comfort zone of our house where we're doing our sculpting and come over here to a strange new place where you may or may not be comfortable. So I was just going to say, let's continue doing this until we've got these darn sculptures finished. If anybody needs to bring their sculpture in for a consultation or a repair job, I'm happy to weld them together or repair them or consult with you on that at any point this week. But I don't think, I need to bring you guys in until we start dipping these pieces and or casting them in bronze. The bronze casting is really exciting and quite dramatic. And so we're going to meet together as a class to do that. And I hope to be able to do some bronze casting, maybe as early as next week or the week after. It just kind of depends on how fast and how many of these things that I get in. Because I need to have at least a dozen, or baker's dozen, 13 of these would be nice, so that I can start dipping them and getting them pushed through and getting molds made around them. So I'm going to need you guys to start finishing this stuff up and bringing it in. When you bring it in, take a photograph of it and upload it. That's all you need to do for your first 100 points for the class. For the first assignment in the class, it is do your wax sculpture and take pictures of them. It doesn't have to be a selfie. You can lay out your pieces, on some kind of a contrasting tabletop and take a picture of them. And it doesn't have to be the greatest, most flattering picture, but I need you guys to document the pieces that you made and upload them. So I've got some idea of what's coming my way. And, also, I've got some idea of where you're at in the class. I did all of that in half an hour because it's a relatively quick day when I'm only doing a demonstration on one piece. I'm looking at my other stuff, trying to decide whether any of that needs to be gated up yet. I suppose I've got a sea turtle that I could go ahead and do a gating system on for you guys as a demonstration, so that you can see what a large scale piece looks like, or at least a medium sized piece looks like compared to a little teeny tiny piece. And so we come back to the process down here on the table in front of me. Okay.
I have a quick question that you might be able to answer later on, but what colors of patina do you have available?
Well, I have antique browns, a warm brown and a cool brown, and an antique green. And you can make those patinas as thick and heavy as you want, which intensifies the color. It also darkens the browns. The browns get darker and darker and darker the more patina that you put on. So if you start off with just a tan or a light coating of the browns, you get something that's a medium tone. Otherwise, it can go dark and deep in value really quickly. Got the antique green, and then I worked at a foundry where we used pigments as patinas too. So we actually took acrylic paint and thinned it down with water, and with our patina process, we were actually staining and painting the bronze with pigments as well. So if that's something you might be interested in, I can do that as a demonstration during that part of the quarter. And you can either have something that's a colorful patina in purples and reds and magentas and all of your favorite colors, or something more traditional. People also tend to really like this stuff just cast in bronze and polished up gold, because the natural color of the bronze is gold too. So that's also going to be a possibility for everybody. Oh, okay. So I'm going to be down here like this. I'm going to do it quick. And then I'll get you guys out of here so you can go eat your ramen noodles or something. So this is the sea turtle. It's very small. It's very tiny, compared to this sculpture sitting next to it, and compared to anything else. Usually, if I've got sculptures like this, I might put two of them on one pouring cup because it's a relatively small sculpture. In fact, when I gate this up, I'm probably going to attach a gate to its head and maybe a couple of little gates to the flippers, and I might put it over here on one side of this cup so that it's ready to have another one come and join it when the time comes. So off camera, I've fired up the torch. I've got to attach this meniscus better to this cup. So I might as well just go ahead and do that real quick, because that is like important. And then we'll get this party started, and I'll be done in 3 to 5 minutes and turn you guys loose. So are there any other questions or comments for the good of the order while we're putting this little thing together here? I'm going to use some 3/8 inch wax for my main gate on his head, and some 1/4 inch wax for hooking up the flippers. And I've already dropped a piece on the floor, and I'm going to try not to put my head in front of the fire, because that's bad. Okay, so how am I going to do this? I'll probably do this on the tabletop right here first. So here's my little guy. I'm going to put a gate right here on his forehead. So he's small. He doesn't have any eyes. He's kind of an abstract piece. And so I'm just going to do this to add the gate to his forehead. And I don't know why I keep calling him a him. It's one of those things. I'm sorry. Okay, so and then I'm going to put a gate on each flipper about halfway in the front of each flipper. Will you work with me on this? Come on, you. All right, I've got to put this here to hold this up. Got to hold up the drunks sometimes when they don't stand up like they're supposed to. Okay, so I need a hot knife, heating the knife, 5 to 8 seconds in the flame, and a quick thing like that. I'm going to do another one right here. I don't like that first one. Another one right there. So I've got something that looks like this, which is totally fine and adequate for what I'm going to do. I just would like to consolidate these a little bit closer together so that they're all going to wind up on here. I need to trim the middle one. So I'm just going to stick my thumb on the back side of this and hope that I don't push that blade right through my thumb, because that would be bad. But usually the wax is pretty forgiving that way. And so I'm going to put this on the cup just like this over to one side. And so we're heating the butter knife, 8 seconds. I'm heating it kind of along the length of the butter knife so that I can put it down here like this and draw it away from myself like that. And it has cooled off and frozen in place, and voila, I have a gating system for a little sea turtle on half of a pouring cup. And so there's enough room on here so that I can gate another object on here, and then I don't have to have, individual pouring cups for a zillion different tiny little sculptures. So I will gang up 2 or 3 tiny little pieces on pouring cups, so that when we're doing the dipping process, I might have 20 patterns, because there might be lots of little frogs and sea turtles and stuff like that. But I might only have 12 patterns that I'm pushing through the process, because I'll have multiples on some of these pouring cups. So here's a couple of examples to get us started for this casting process here that we have. And with that, I'm probably going to say goodnight to you guys and go make myself some dinner, because that sounds like a good idea to me too. Are there any questions as I'm bringing the camera back up, or turning off and putting away my tools for this evening? That was brilliant, James. You can say that was brilliant, James, because it really was. So Wednesday, I would love to see.
Brilliant.
What? Wait. Who was that? Was that somebody just saying goodbye?
No, I said that was brilliant.
Oh, thank you. You're awesome too. Thank you, Robert. On Wednesday, I would love to see anywhere from a half dozen to a dozen pieces come, under the door or over the transom, to get left, on that table out there, so that I could start gating them up. I noticed it was really, really sunny, and the sun can really melt wax. So if you're going to bring something over, kind of try to bring it over in the evening, maybe closer to class time, like after 4 o'clock, 4, 5, or 6, bring it on over. If you're going to bring something over, bring it over during class time. You can come in, you can make an appearance on camera, you can say hi, as long as you're masked up. You can be here watching me do stuff. I don't have room in this classroom for all 16 of you, but if a couple of you showed up during class because your piece is falling apart and you wanted to see the process demonstrated live, I've got room for 5 or 6 people to kind of sit off camera here and watch me while I do stuff. But I'd really like to start having a bunch of, these pieces coming in so that I can start the gating process on that stuff. So I hope you guys are having a good week. After we get these pieces gated up and I start pushing them through the.
You have a question from Abby.
I have a question.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Oh,
Abby.
you're fine. Was there any way that we should leave our names on the pieces that we bring in, or?
Well, I've sort of got I've sort of got a running list of your name and it's associated with some kind of a piece, but it sure wouldn't hurt my feelings, I guess, if you wrote a note with it and stuck it in the box so that I knew that it was your piece. That'd be fantastic.
Okay.
But otherwise, if you photograph the piece and upload it to the coursework for this class for the first assignment, that's also going to kind of help me confirm who belongs to what pieces, because then I'll know and that'll help.
Mhm.
So that's good. Zoe, you got a question?
Yeah. So for when I drop off my piece, it's not gonna be like later in the evening just because I go to work at like 2 o'clock. So I
Okay.
have to do stuff kind of early. Is there a spot where I could put it to where it wouldn't be so in the sun, so at risk of melting, or is there like a thing I could do shady wise?
Yeah, I'm thinking about my situation right out here. I've got a park bench there and you can stick it underneath the park bench, which will, there's a little bit of shade underneath there or underneath the table. And I guess, what I'm going to do is start checking every hour so that I can bring stuff in. And if I know that you're going to work at 2 o'clock, I can be here, during 1 to 1:30 and be checking and I can receive the piece because I don't want it to get hurt. At 1 and 1:30, there's going to be shade on this whole porch area out here. So, that's a really good time to drop stuff off and then I can bring it inside so that it's
Okie
safe.
dokie. Thank you much.
Yep, thank you. All right, you
I
guys.
probably will not be here Wednesday. I work, but I'm gonna try to get some time off.
Okay, that's fine. That's not a problem. Anybody who can catch up with this stuff on the YouTube recordings, please do so. I don't know if everybody's even aware of it or not, but I'm supposed to be recording all of these things and I'm posting the links in my Laker link so that you guys can go back to the stuff and look at it again. So anyway, that's helpful.
Funny story about the whole YouTube thing is I was actually trying to watch YouTube videos on other people talking about the smoothing process. And lo and behold, there's James's face. And it's our class period that I found on YouTube just by trying to search like wax sculpture smoothing. So I thought that was rather entertaining.
Wow. My viewership is like I get about 4 views on each piece on each of these class things. So it's not like I'm the most popular guy on YouTube. I'm amazed that it even comes up in a search, but that's nice. So thank you. I'm not making a ton of money by posting videos to YouTube. So, but some of you guys might be able to figure out how to do better than me on that. So I'm going to say goodbye. Good night. Thank you guys. I'll see you on Wednesday and good luck sculpting.